The newest Fast and Furious films make the Avengers and Transformers look like non-fictional documentaries. The only way they can top themselves is to have Vin Diesel ride a dinosaur on the moon. And you know what? I'd pay to see that shit. So what is the plot of The Fate of the Furious? Well, does the plot really matter? But if you really want to know, the crew must go up against the evil Charlize Theron, who employs an army of henchmen and hackers. And they use a program called Cypher to control the planet and nuclear bombs, cars, Vin Diesel, bananas. Here, just watch this shit I made in my garage a couple years ago. Very quickly, before we continue on, I wanted to let you guys know that this review is brought to you by Popcorn Trivia. It's an awesome app that you can download. By the way, check out the biceps on this popcorn bucket. I'm jealous. If you're into movies and movie trivia, definitely download Popcorn Trivia. It's an awesome app where you can pretty much pick any movie that you've ever seen. You can answer a whole bunch of trivia questions about the movie, earn points, and also go up against other people who also have the app. So if you want to test your movie knowledge, you can download the app on iOS or Android. I'll put the links down below. And if you're feeling all Fast and Furious, I don't even know what that means, they have every single Fast and Furious film, including the new one, on the app right now. Now let's dive into depth and talk about The Fate of the Furious. I've always really enjoyed the Point Break remake, known as the Fast and Furious, the first movie. I also slightly enjoyed Tokyo Drift. Don't ask questions. And once they revamped the franchise where everyone became superheroes, because everyone in these movies now has superpowers. They're invincible, they have super strength, but the point is, I think once they did that, my favorite movie so far has been number 5. One of the best things about this movie is it's directed by Gary F. Gray, who directed another heist film with cars, known as The Italian Job. And if you really think about it, these newest incarnations of the Fast and Furious essentially evolved from The Italian Job. It's almost the same concept, and they both have Jason Statham in them. And when I was watching this movie, I was just waiting for a Mark Wahlberg cameo at some point. It doesn't happen, but maybe it will. I can see Mark Wahlberg being part of the Fast and Furious crew. It's like, why not? Hey, yo, Toretto, what are you doing over there? Hey, come here. I thought this was about family or something. Want to go race some cars? That's my shitty Mark Wahlberg impression. Now, these movies have a huge cast, and I don't want to spend 97 minutes breaking down every cast member and their performance in this movie. It's pretty much the same thing you've seen in the last 4 movies. I will say the 2 people who stood out the most in this movie, and I think really carried the movie and made it the most entertaining, were Jason Statham and The Rock. Jason Statham played the villain character Decker in the last film, and this time he's back, but he has a slightly different role. And once again, you have the character of The Rock returning as Agent Hobbs. It's The Rock. He's a badass, he looks awesome, he's covered in baby oil the entire movie, he has some of the best one-liners, and you just want to see him break shit and punch people in the face. Do you get those things? Yes, you do. There's a prison sequence early on in this movie where you have The Rock and Jason Statham, and they're in separate cells across the hall from each other. And they just keep going back and forth, threatening each other, how they're gonna kick each other's asses. And it was probably one of the best parts of the movie. My name's Jason Statham. I gotta stop with the shitty impressions. But towards the end of this movie, Jason Statham has one of the best crowd-pleasing, badass moments in the entire movie. In this scene with Jason Statham, it was very reminiscent to another movie called Batman v Superman, where Batman saves Superman's mom in that warehouse. It kind of gave me those same feels, and I liked it. If you've seen the movie, think about it, and let me know what you think about that down below. I'm curious. Did you get the same vibes? Okay, from this point on, we're not going to talk about the plot of the movie, because the plot of this movie does not matter. It gets very convoluted at certain points. Anything that can happen will happen. So there are no real consequences to anything in this movie. My biggest complaint with this movie is, just thinking about it makes me laugh. There are a few sequences in this movie with action that it goes almost too big and too over the top for its own good. Here's my thing with action movies. There's a fine line that over-the-top action movies can follow, where it's over the top, but still believable when you're immersed enough into the movie. And as far as this movie goes, there are times where my brain wanted to leak out of my ear and I just felt numb to what I was watching up on the big screen. There is a scene in this movie with a zombie horde of remote-controlled, actual life-size vehicles that are magically chasing the good guys. There's no one in them. They're remote-controlled, somehow magically. And I didn't really think it was all that clever or really neat to watch. It kind of just took me out of the movie. It almost felt like an idea that a 7-year-old boy would have when he's playing with his Hot Wheels cars. At least that's an idea I had when I was 6 years old.
These zombie cars are pretty spectacular.
And it's like when you see things like that in this movie, you have to ask yourself, why do the bad guys want so much control of nuclear bombs? If you can hijack 10,000 cars at one time to cause mass chaos, you don't really need a nuclear bomb. You're good to go. And I would also say the middle section of this movie gets a little bit sluggish and kind of slows down the pace a little too much to where you just want to go take a bathroom break or get a refill of your popcorn or some Sour Patch Kids. Definitely do it during the car zombie sequence. So here are my final flicking thoughts on the fate of the Furious. This is one big overbloated dumb action movie where anything that can happen will happen, and The Rock, he just progressively gets stronger in each movie. And is that a bad thing? No, this is a very entertaining movie. It's fun to watch. It's one of those movies where you just want to shove popcorn into your mouth and then maybe choke to death when you see 10,000 cars in zombie mode chasing the good guys through the streets, and you just think to yourself, like, who came up with that idea? Like, they got paid for that. But once again, it is entertaining, a little bit too convoluted for its own good at times, but entertaining. And it is a funny movie. There's a lot of levity from Tyrese Gibson, and there are some very touching moments, and there's one nice nod to Paul Walker in this film, or at least his character, and I really like that. And as far as these movies go, they feel like they're becoming parodies of themselves. And now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I'm not quite sure, but I am entertained by these movies. I'm going to give The Fate of the Furious, a B-. Check the movie out. It's a good time. And by the way, once again, The Rock and Jason Statham are the best thing about this movie. That's my take on The Fate of the Furious. Now here's my question to you guys, and let me know down below. What'd you guys think about the movie? Or what else do you think there is left to do in this franchise? If they make another movie, which I think they are, what do you want to see go down in that movie? And by the way, once again, if you're a movie nerd like me and you like answering movie trivia questions and getting them all right because it makes you feel better about yourself and what you're doing in life, well, definitely download Popcorn Trivia. Once again, that link is down below. Check it out. Make sure you subscribe. That way, I can see you next time. Family.